for that. Yeah, we are live.
We are live. Beautiful. And I guess, Rob, if you want to let us know in the chat if both of us are heard. We'll wait for someone else to join if Rob's busy. That's Rob's typing. Pawan, can you hear myself and Eugene? Eugene, can you say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, we got a few minutes. I guess eventually someone will let us know if they can hear us or if they can't hear us. I will say I noticed like one thing I'm immediately really jealous of is I saw you have a dishwasher versus me. I have just dishes in my sink.
This one is bad, so I wash my dishes usually, like mostly, by manually because it's just not very good quality of washing. Like it washes it because first of all, a dishwasher will never get to the point when it's like really clean totally, heavily sometimes heavily dirty because or something that you left for a while, just because it doesn't touch it, it doesn't scratch it,
Yeah,
it's just steam and
but
hot
you don't
water.
just. But like if you just rinse it, throw it in the dishwasher, and wash it the same day, then it doesn't matter, does it?
What I mean, like put it in.
Like
You mean look to run it every day? Yeah, it's possible, but it worked like 2 hours as a like regular program,
okay,
washing program for one plate. It's kind of overkill.
yeah, no,
I
I get that. When I was a kid, the dishwasher was used as a drying rack more than anything. So, like right now, I really want one, but like the issue that you said, 2 hours for like 5 dishes doesn't make sense.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm still jealous.
Yeah, no. Even like five dishes, like just sometimes it's like when I put it out from dishwasher and I see, okay, it's not clean, so I cannot, it's a problem with trust. If I can trust the machine, I taking it out, and every time I have to check it, like for me, it's seriously, for me, it's like for me, it's better just to clean it manually and to
Yeah.
take a look and to be sure, like, okay, now that's fine, I can put it on a dryer and that's it. I use it as a dryer actually, like I just wash it and put it inside. That's
No,
it.
no, that makes perfect sense. No one wants like a fork with a piece of like old
Exactly.
cheese on it or
Exactly,
whatever.
exactly, and that's the biggest issue. Like forks, knives, sometimes even plates. But like plates are the easiest to wash because it still doesn't manage to if something's stuck like pasta, yeah, like
Yeah.
cheese, it's not capable to handle it. Despite
Uh,
the water is actually hot, so if I open it like just a couple of minutes after it's finished, I see a lot of steam is going out. So I don't get how is it possible, really.
um, so technically, we haven't started yet, but our audience is listening to us talk about dishwashers. So I'm just going to
Yeah.
share. I watched this like 30-minute breakdown on how dishwashers work. This guy like bought a dishwasher, cut out the side panel, put in plexiglass so he could watch how the cycles worked.
Okay.
And one of the things I think he discussed is that the pods aren't quite as effective as just using liquid detergent because of how the pod is ejected into the dishwasher at an early stage of the cycle. Um, where like first the cycle, you first need the hot water to break it, like the steam to like break down the molecules. Then you want to wash it with the pressure of like water and the cleaning fluid or whatever. But those detergent pods doesn't. I'll send and you want something in the background. It's interesting. It's not something I think a normal person would listen to. But then again, I never said I was normal starting this. So
That's totally fine. Like for me, it's totally fine.
all right, it is officially 8 a.m. here on the East Coast. Sorry, West Coast, not the East Coast, the West Coast, which means it's 6 p.m. in Israel.
In Israel, yeah, but I'm in Poland, so it's like 5 p.m. for me.
Okay, my bad.
That's okay because I moved recently, so it's okay.
Okay, it's different times. It's technically the starting time, and yes, Sarav, this is actually tea. The problem is, I boil my tea with too hot of a water because I don't have a kettle. So I'm just using my coffee maker. I'm just like getting hot water that way. And if the
Okay.
water's too hot, it releases tannins from the tea leaves, which cause it to be cloudy. If you're a tea drinker, I know this is probably like super sacrilegious, but like I also said I was not a good tea drinker. My bad. Okay. We're going to give it like 2 more minutes. I'm sure this is the most interesting conversation y'all have heard, so I appreciate that. But we'll get started in like a minute. Are you a tea drinker or coffee drinker, Eugene?
I'm a tea drinker. I have actually like a pot for it. I'm not like a real specialty in it, so I have a coffee machine, as you can also see,
Yeah.
but I don't use it at all. Like I don't like coffee. Just don't like taste. Don't like it. Maybe I can drink a very like dark coffee with which is like black coffee that is being um, drinked, but in very small amount. So this I just was invited for some kind of a special cooking of coffee, and this one I liked because, but it is some exceptionally good.
Okay.
But overall, I don't like it. Like regular coffee, no, I don't like it.
Give me 1 second. Sorry. Someone has commented that your sound gets really low from time to time.
Mine?
Yes. Um,
What can I do with that?
that's a great question. I have no idea. Let me see if there's anything I can do. I don't think there's anything I can do on my end.
Maybe no. I doubt that it's hardware issue because like can you hear me well?
I can hear you. I don't know. I wonder if I just turn up my volume, if that'll make a difference. Is this any louder for the people at home? I'll just keep. Actually, Eugene, why don't you just keep talking for a little bit?
Yeah, about coffee machine.
Yeah, talk about your coffee.
Okay. uh, so I'm a tea drinker, and I just recently ordered a couple of like teas just to taste all of them, which with flowers, with roses, like some flavors. So I'm mostly a tea drinker.
Okay. Santosh, did that sound a little bit better? Santosh said it sounded a little bit better, and he just advanced to level 3. Congratulations! Welcome to the Discord community. Um, now's as good of time as any to get started. So, yeah, everyone, thank you for joining us to our December office hours session titled "Plugging into MongoDB." If you couldn't tell, it's going to be about two things. It's going to be about Application's new plugin platform, as well as our plugin specifically to support MongoDB. So, hi, I'm your host. My name is Michael Slotty. I am Application's one and only developer advocate until they decide to replace me. But until then, I'll be chatting with Eugene. Eugene, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Eugene, and I'm a software developer and application. Uh, Speaking shortly, working on both sides of our app related to every aspect: server, code generation, web, everything related to what we and also what we're going to discuss today, plugins.
Okay. What about your past experience? How long have you been a software
Experience,
developer? How did you
yeah,
get into
sure.
software development?
How I get passions started through university years, but actually in career about 7 years. Well, time's run quite fast. Um, Started with .NET, moved later to Java, and later to React as web development. A couple of past years, I worked also with Golang, which is also backend development, and now I'm with Amplication, working on a next code generator of everything.
Okay. You say you work for Amplication, allegedly. What can you tell me about Amplication so the audience knows what Amplication is?
Application is we are a tool or a platform that allows you to create the full stack application, including your backend, front end, and from recently you can also add communication platforms, brokers, different databases um, to your application. And that's actually the code base and infrastructure base that you receive that allow you to develop everything that you want.
Okay.
Making your life much easier without boilerplates and repetitive tasks that usually a lot of developers spend time on.
So I think something you kind of hinted on, which I think is what makes Amplication really special, is that, and better probably than some other backend frameworks, let's say, is that Amplication is very, very extensible. We're not a black box of a platform. Developers have the ability to see the code that's actually running and modify the code and stuff like that. Um, so talking about that extensibility, a couple of months ago we released support for plugins. Can you share with our audience what the plugins actually do?
Yeah, actually, plugins is additional extension that of functionality that can allow our own users to develop plugin or use community plugin or plugins that were developed by us in order to customize our application. So just a quick example is we have with one of them we're going to discuss today, MongoDB. Except of that, you can also choose Postgres, MySQL. So plugin is actually, generally speaking, extension or addition of logic to your application. And that's how you can enrich and customize application for your specific needs.
Um, you so what so in the beginning, at least with Application, we generated code for you using like Nest, Apollo, GraphQL, Swagger, or OpenAI. Not OpenAI. Oh my god, OpenAPI.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
uh,
Not yet, just not
Not
yet. Okay.
yet. Soon,
Yeah.
soon, OpenAI will be generating backend.
Yeah.
But like, so we were generating code just fine, but now we're opening up the platform to allow developers to help build or modify the code that we're generating. So like, what brought about the development of the plugin ecosystem? Like, what do you think inspired the team to be like, hey, let's open our platform for developers to build upon?
Oh, well, yeah. First of all, it's a need to customize like at all because you don't want to have a huge boilerplate of everything and in one application. That's would happen if you would just continue to develop like generator as a single application and including everything. Sometimes you just need to pick with between technologies sometimes, and that's what we actually are trying to achieve with plugins, to give an opportunity to select precisely and specifically what you actually need. And the reason why it's open and for a community, well, first of all, because we are open source and we want our community to be able to influence the product and also to participate and to help to themselves. If someone have an idea and passion, they can implement a plugin and with his own specific needs, or maybe something more generic. So that's basically what we are doing now. So we are exposing plugins themselves. Of course, we have open source of plugins, source of the generator, code generator.
Mm-hmm.
So that would allows to create new plugins and additional functionalities to your app.
I kind of want to dive into that subject just a little bit, discussing like how the plugin generation works. So for our audience, when you click build on a application, building your application service or something like that, application will take a bunch of information that has been provided, like what entities and what roles, etc., that are created, and it generates the backend, like it'll write the code for you. And so I think the idea with the plugin system is that when we are generating that code for you, that developers, by means of the plugins that they write, can inject their own code into what's being generated by our platform. And so like there's a few things that come to mind. I'll just say like lifecycle hooks is something that like registers for me when I hear that or when I think about it that way. And I was wondering if you can explain a little bit more like how that hooking into the generation works for developers.
Okay, yeah. So discussing that topic, how does actually our generator and our platform and plugins are related to each other? So plugin actually for each build process runs generator, separate instance. Generator can use optionally plugins that have been selected by user. These plugins are being imported to generator and called. Plugins has to be extended from some application plugin, which is base API, let's call it like that. So, and with an amount of methods that are exposed there. So this looks like actually, as you mentioned, hooks. So you have methods that, if someone remember how React worked back then when it was like version 15 with component did mount, component will mount, component will unmount, and etc. So that works in pretty similar way. So we have in base plugin options to extend methods which are called before controller create, before after controller create, before authentication, after authentication. So and with custom input, so we provide files that are related to that method, and in some cases also the whole source tree. So speaking shortly, we have base plugins, hooks that are that were exposed from a generator. The generator is going to call. Generator uses plugins and calls these methods. Plugins has to implement these methods in order to add functionality.
Okay. Is there? Hold on one second. Okay. So I think when I was looking at some of the code for like one of the plugins that exists, it looks like effectively you're creating a base class, which the class will then have extends from a application plugin class.
Exactly.
And so you're like overriding the methods that exists in the plugin class that we're extending from to inject your own code. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
you extended methods, and that's exactly what I meant. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's really awesome. So, like, I guess I'm curious if you have any advice for developers interested in building an application, application. Sorry, an application
Yeah.
plugin. Sorry. Uh, you understand what I mean, so we'll go from there.
For sure. Yeah, and people are also invited to participate in development of application. We accept our like pull request in the community. So for someone who want to develop a plugin, we are working on documentations that will make uh, will describe the process and make it easier to understand what has to be done. So we're working on streamlining the process and making it more clear. Uh, so first advice is like if you have an idea, just try it. Don't wait for instance, just try it and see how it goes. And if uh, if you have an idea, try to implement it. If it doesn't work well, you can contact us and write in community in Discord.
Mhm.
Uh, use documents that's going to guide you how to do it.
Okay. And just so our audience knows, we have, if you visit docs.amplication.com, on the left-hand side, there's a section for plugins that we're fleshing out the documentation. But right now, if you're like interested, you could read information about like all the different lifecycle hooks that you can hook into. Um, and additionally, like if you look at the plugins on the plugins page in application, you could view the source code for all those plugins on GitHub, which for me has actually been really cool because I've actually just been reading code to see how it works. Because I'm not really good at reading documentation. I just like to play with things and see how they work. So that's what I've been doing just to get a better understanding on how that works. I see my boss is here. I study hard. I work hard. Uh, there we go. um, so like, okay, that's some advice for the community for plugins. And over the course of the next month, you're going to see additional documentation on how to build plugins. I'm just saying that to you at home. And the reason why we're doing this is come January, we actually plan on hosting a hackathon for the community to participate in, where you guys are going to be able to develop your own plugins, and we're going to have like prizing and support and stuff like that. So like, stay tuned for that. Follow us on Twitter. Stay in the Discord community. We'll be sharing information about that coming soon. But actually, because we will be hosting this community plugin hackathon, I know that the week of Thanksgiving there was a plugin hackathon internally, right? So what was it called? The plugathon, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it was in November.
Yeah, end of November. End of November. Do you want to share like how that experience went for like, because you guys were working on plugins, developing a plugin in like a 24-hour period, right?
Well, actually, less. We just working during the day. We didn't get it through the night, so
Okay.
it was half like plagathon, but like with limited time. We actually kind of achieved quite a good result. We managed to produce a bunch of plugins just during one day. And yeah, you're right. Basically, we ourselves, as soon as we develop it, we take an example from source code and share an experience currently from one plugin to another and from one developer to another. So yeah, source code will actually help to understand what's going on. It can be taken as an example. So it was really cool. We've tested and we found a couple of like let's say ways how to make it better, to make it more streamlined. Let's say like put it on a real production line. Everything is related to creation of plugins.
Right. Um,
Uh,
Out of curiosity, for the community plugathon, I'm not in love with the name, but I think someone said it and it stuck, so we're just going with Plugathon now. What sort of plugins would you like to see the community create?
Yeah, being honest, we would actually want to hear from the community which plugins they would like to be to be created, and first of all, we would like to have an opinion about them. But well, actually, community is divided with any ideas and to implement their own plugins. As soon as they feel an urge and need. So basically, we're creating that tool for people to use. We're not creating for our own. So as soon as people feel that it's useful and it's needed, just go for it. Go
Okay.
for it and try it.
So I will say we're not going to dive deeper into that quite yet, but if you're listening in the Discord chat, go ahead and drop some ideas on some plugins you'd like to see, and we'll or plugins you want to create, and I'll run them by Eugene, and he'll tell me if they're good ideas or if they're bad ideas, and you should feel bad and cry. So we'll get back to you on that. But until then, sorry, I'm not. I mean, maybe we'll see. Um, So earlier this week, actually, we application released a new plugin, right? And
Yeah,
that
that's
plugin,
plugin is MongoDB plugin.
yeah, was the MongoDB plugin based off of the plugathon that happened?
Yeah, it was started during the plugin.
Okay,
Finished a bit later, but yeah, the whole initiative came from there.
okay. So explaining it to the audience. So earlier this week, application released the plugin for MongoDB. So primarily, we've focused on supporting Postgres, and we introduced MySQL support back in September. But we've been sticking with SQL-based databases for support. So this is something new, a schemaless NoSQL plugin. Can you tell us a bit about the MongoDB plugin?
Yeah, the Thompsons was requested a lot, as you said. We actually was attached for two SQL databases, and well, but there is a huge need to document databases in development for a lot of in a lot of industries and a lot of companies, and that's something that was really requested to implement, and we're happy to deliver it. And that plugin actually integrates current generated application with Mongo without any additional like intervention or manual changes from customer. So it actually we are based on Prisma, and so we actually we are based on Prisma, and we actually have an integration with Mongo there. So we generate everything related to our entities and access to the database, including schema. So everything that you need just to make a request is already there.
Mm-hmm. I So just as a fun fact for you, Eugene, as well as the audience, the first database I learned how to use was MongoDB. So
Wow.
yeah, because the first fun fun history lesson for the audience, the first framework or web technology I learned how to develop on was called Meteor. Meteor was a very opinionated, locked-in ecosystem that used its own custom templating engine for the front end and used MongoDB in the back end. Um, Meteor, actually very interesting, is a company that eventually created Apollo, split off to become two different companies, and now Apollo is its own thing. But Apollo GraphQL started out of Meteor, which is just random knowledge for y'all to have. But so I'm very opinionated for like support for NoSQL databases, specifically like MongoDB. So I'm gonna quiz you a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe just get your opinion. What do you think are some of the benefits of MongoDB versus something like Postgres or MySQL?
Well, for sure, it's just different use cases. And well, when you want to save a document with like deep structure, usually that's why you need a document database. When you only want to save the whole entity with a lot of data, very quite rich, because versus saving it to a database which would cost a SQL database which would cost you creating dozens of tables and a lot of connections that you would like to avoid. That case is perfect when you want to retrieve the full document uh, in one request and one request, let's call it, in one operation,
Mm-hmm.
and easily access it and also easily save it.
Okay. Is that the only benefit you think there is to Mongo, or is there anything else besides the? So actually, hold on. I have a question for you then. So one of the benefits I think for MongoDB for developers, I'm just like ranting now because I'm just ranting. I'm sorry. So one of the benefits I think with MongoDB is compared to SQL databases is that it's technically a schemaless database. So you don't need to declare the data types of your fields ahead of time. Compared to something like Postgres or MySQL, where you're saying what the data is going to be, and as a result, there's this enforcement at the database layer. So the thing is, like, if I was writing data directly into Mongo, I can write any data into any field that I want. I'm assuming Prisma provides some sort of type protection for what data is being written into Mongo. But here's a question: do we have to, like, if you decide to change the data structure, um, do developers need to worry about like writing database migrations, or is that something that Mongo?
Yep, no, that's something that it's not so applied to Mongo because actually database collections in Mongo doesn't have constraints uh, as SQL tables do have for specific keys or relations. So yeah, that's one of the things that you should not like be bothered a lot. But again, I wouldn't call it as a huge benefit. I would just call it as a use case.
Mhm.
Someone do want it, someone does not. Uh, so that's for cases when you do not really want to be attached to some constraints that SQL provides. And well, with constraints, they also provide a guarantee that here's that's what's going to be safe.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So that, I mean, I guess then you could, for like local development, if you're quickly trying to build something or prototype an MVP, having that flexibility might be nice. But when you go to prod, let's say you can just go into application, flip a switch to Postgres, and then just it works, I guess. Um, Sorry, ranting and raving. I want to open it actually to the audience who has questions, and I've seen two, maybe three ideas for plugins, and I'll run them by you. So, audience members, if you have any questions about the plugin ecosystem that we are developing, the MongoDB plugin specifically, or questions about our plugathon that we plan on hosting in January, feel free to write your questions in the Discord. But Eugene, what do you think about a Redis plugin?
that's also going to be a huge addition because key value storages are very popular nowadays and like used a lot in many cases. So even if you basically mostly are rely on SQL databases, you mostly get into the point when you want something to be cached and be ready for an immediate access and for very frequent access.
So
So that's a very like important addition to our stack.
I'm hoping you can correct me because you actually mentioned having a cache layer.
Yeah.
And so for our audience members who may not know what Redis is, and that's partially including me, the idea with Redis is that that would be a layer uh, in the request process where, like, if a request for a specific GET request was made, instead of requerying the database, you have this like cache of queries that you can just pull from and just serve that so long as the information isn't old data. Is that like roughly correct?
Yeah, it has to be resolved by backend itself, like if that's what an operation you want to perform. So you've checked if at first you check cache. If requested entity does exist there, you just take it. If not, you're going to database, saving it to the cache, and in the next request, it's gonna be there and will is accessible.
So, oh my god, I'm gonna butcher the term for the audience. I think the term to consider, I think it's like memoization, not memorization,
Is
memoization.
it exactly? Yeah.
Such a gross word, but yeah. If you want to look it up, that'll kind of give you an idea of what Redis kind of provides at a high level. Another plugin idea that we are getting is OpenID Connect providers, or OIDC. Um, I have no idea what OIDC is. Do you, by chance, know what OIDC is?
Yeah, it's OpenID Connect is authentication protocol which is built on authorization protocol OAuth 2.0, which is industry standard nowadays to provide an authorization authentication to users. And there are a lot of use cases, including not just a basic login, but also single sign-on, federated authorization. And we are definitely gonna develop this plugin. We are currently like we already have both of them, both Redis and authorization related like plugins in our backlog. Uh, so yeah, important, very important, and we are aware of it.
Um, Audience, please, if you have any questions, it can anything, the time complexity of a bubble sort, please just drop it in the chat. We're here to chat with you, and we're going to be available for a little bit longer if you have anything you want to ask. We have someone typing. Hopefully this will be a question we know the answer to. We'll see. I guess while we're waiting, I'll ask you real quick. Which plugins have you had your keyboard or your hands involved in?
Yeah, recently I finished Prettier plugin and also like one of the plugins that are in a plan related also to formatting, which is ESLint and um, Husky, which is Git hook, which will run. Husky is a Git hook which will run formatting and linting for all. I just mentioned like we using like ESLint for Prettier.
Yeah. So the idea with Husky is before you're able to commit something, you can execute code, which you can run the linter. And the idea is, I guess, if the linter doesn't pass, you shouldn't be allowed to make that commit. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. You just even on a step of commit before it gets to CI even. So
Okay. So we have a question from Klaus, and I think it's a question asking us to clarify a little bit. Um, Maybe we zoom by it a little bit too fast, but he's asking what exactly is a plugin and what are the different use cases of some of them.
okay, got it. So plugin is an independent model that is supposed to be developed by extending base plugin. After in this base plugin, you have already exposed a lot of methods that you can extend and change code generation process by your own needs. After that, that plugin is imported and used by code generator. all of these methods, custom methods, extended methods that are in the plugin are being run, and the result of code generation eventually will be affected by this plugin. So
Okay, so we're getting a follow-up question, or sorry, another question by another audience member. Are there any plans for plugins for some storage services such as S3 or Azure Blob storage?
in the future, yeah, it's not. If as far as I know, it's not in the nearest future plan, but it's definitely something that has to be.
Okay. I mean, we will say Plugathon coming next month. If you wanted to develop that, I'm sure the community would be very excited to see that. I'm not going to put your name on blast, but you know who you are, audience member asking that question.
Yeah.
We have about 2, maybe 3 more minutes with Eugene because it's getting late for him, and I'm sure it's late for some of you at home. So if you guys have any more questions, now's your chance. Okay, we don't see any typing, so I think this might be a good place to cut it off. Eugene, thank you for joining me today and sharing more about Application's plugin ecosystem, as well as a little bit about the MongoDB plugin. I'm really excited to see that, so I'm going to be like tinkering with it for some of my next personal projects. We might have one more question. I'm going to let this one in real quick, this last comment, and after that, we're going to call it, but we'll see. Hold on. Shivam, I see you are typing. Let's see what you have to ask. No pressure. We're all waiting on you, though. Oh, okay. That's a question I actually know the answer to. So Shivam asks that he wants to contribute to Amplication and how can he get started? Well, if you go to amplication.com, I want to be able to screen share, but I'm worried I will mess up the cast. So if you go to amplication.com, at the very top of the website, there's something that says something like, we're on GitHub, give us a star, or star our GitHub repo, or something like that. If you click that, you will be introduced, or you'll be directed to the Amplication GitHub repository. If you click on issues, you can find issues that are labeled like good for first timers or something like that. Or seeing as you're a member of the Discord community, you can always check some of the Discord channels that we have. So I think we have a contributors GitHub channel, a contributors Discord channel, which you can join to ask questions if you wanted to get started. You can ping me on Discord. You can ping Sarab. You can ping different members of our developer community, and we can help you there. And there's definitely some really active members of our community that can also help you get started. So feel free to add us on Discord, and we can help you out there, or check out the GitHub repo and check out some of the issues there. All right, Eugene, thank you so much for joining us. Audience, thank you for joining us as well. Thank you for the questions, the comments, everything. You can find us online. Feel free to message us, ping us, and I think that's it. Everyone, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Have a good day. Bye.